Welcome to Life, Lessons, and Laughter with your host, Glenn Ambrose.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. So today I am talking about just doing it. Just doing it. Over the last few years, there's been a lot of talk about changing our lives and doing things that we wanted to do. You know, um, Whether it's changing a job or ending a relationship or whatever, starting a hobby, even whatever is just chipping away at you that you'd like to accomplish. Now's really the time to do it. There's been no better time really in human history to do it. A lot of the structured things are falling apart, and there's just so much room for creativity just bubbling up, for us to live our happiest lives, the best version of our life. It's now's the time. So, I was thinking about, since I'm starting on a new project, I've been very conscious of my thoughts and how things are transpiring as I move forward. And I'm noticing that, I've learned a lot from the past. It's not a lot of things that felt like I was working on before as I did things. Like when I started my business, I was experiencing fear like a lot of people do. And then I would push through that fear and I would do it anyway. I would be faced with confusion, and I would face that and do it anyway. And now it seems like I've done that with enough situations in my life, like starting my business and moving to Florida and moving to the Dominican Republic and all the different things that I've done over the last 20 years, being a parent, going for custody of my son, all this stuff. I've faced that stuff so many times that now, of course, there's aspects of growth that I need to stretch to accomplish this next big project that I'm working on. But the levels of confusion and fear are close to non-existent. At this point, I trust myself enough, so it's not really, I don't have to push through a lot of fear or confusion. I've had enough experience pushing through things to have confidence in myself and confidence in the way the world works, that I'm going to be able to do it, which is nice. It's a nice change. So, I'm noticing that, and I want to talk to you guys about it because it's, we all deserve to live our best life. And to get to a place where you have confidence in yourself, you need to push through the times that you don't have confidence in yourself, and understand there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Like I did, I had to push through that fear to get to a place where I am now, where I'm not really experiencing it. Where when I see obstacles, they don't throw me. They're just like, okay, well, of course there's going to be obstacles. There's always obstacles. So like, how do I get around this one? How do I get over this one? What type of people do I want around me when I'm navigating this stuff? That's one thing I find myself doing is understanding it's very important, the type of people that I work with. Not so much what they're capable of, but the type of person. Do they have an open mind? Are they creative? Do they enjoy solving problems? These are the types of qualities that I look for when I'm working with people to move forward in this project, because that's what's necessary. Most people are capable of performing their job tasks. Like if you have an accountant, most accountants can add numbers. you know, like and most jobs are like that. Of course, there's better and worse and all that stuff, but when you're trying to move ahead with a project, it's important to align yourself with the people that think the same way you think. So when I'm meeting somebody, if the first sign of a problem or something isn't exactly the way they expect, they go, oh well, yeah, we probably can't do this then. Well, that person, I say, okay, thank you, in the conversation, and move on to find somebody else, because that's not the type of person I want to work with. I can get somebody that's going to, there's lots of different people that can build a road. But if you're talking with somebody and they're like, oh, well, oh, that's going to be a nightmare. There's no way. I don't want that negativity. And it's not because I care about their negativity. It's because it blocks them. Our unconscious beliefs are what drive our thinking. So if you're working with a type of person that doesn't like solving problems, they just like things to go smoothly all the time, and when a problem arises, they start to shut down. That's not somebody that I want to work on a project with. Because I'm going to have to constantly try to open them back up. Wait, let's not stop just because this is bad. Like, let's find a way through it. What do we need to do to get around it? Like, I don't want to spend my energy trying to open somebody back up that's closed off because they don't like problem solving. And it's not that there's anything wrong with those people. Like, there's a place for them too, that they have their own set of abilities, and there's situations where they might even be better. Who knows? I'm not thinking of one at the moment, but there can be, not everyone has to be the same, so it's fine that other people aren't like that. But what I'm looking for is people who like to solve problems. People that when you're like, oh yeah, but I'm not sure about the elevation here. They're like, oh, they get excited. I've been looking for people who get excited about their job for almost the last 20 years. That's one of the most valuable things I found, is because those people do the extra. They go the extra mile because they really enjoy what they're doing. I think we put too much emphasis on knowledge, I would much rather have somebody that's excited about doing something and is willing to find out how to do it and figure out ways around, than somebody that thinks they know everything. Because somebody that thinks they know everything, like, as soon as they come across something they haven't seen before, like I said, they shut down. No, can't be done. Just can't be done. What do you mean everything can be done? Like, literally everything can be done for the most part. So to me, it's like when somebody says it can't be done, that's a sign that I probably shouldn't be working with them, because just about everything can be done. So I would rather have somebody that comes to me and says, okay, well, of course we can do this. We can do anything. Unfortunately, it's going to cost $1 million to do this. And normally this should cost $100,000. So if you want to spend an extra $900,000 to accomplish this, we can do it. It's your choice. That's the information I want coming in, because it's like, oh, okay, cool. So, do I want that? Now, I'm going to guess that in most situations that answer is going to be no. Like, no, I don't want to do that. So let's find another way. But hearing that it can't be done, that's usually never the case, so we have to find ways of doing it anyway. And this is kind of my version. When I was thinking about this podcast, I was thinking about how oblivious I am to like fear around problems. And it reminded me of the ignorance is bliss statement, you know. It's like ignorance is bliss. I just don't know better, so I'm just going to go accomplish something. It's like I heard a lot of musicians talk about that, especially back like in the 80s and stuff. Well, later in the 90s and 2000s. Like after they had made it in the big time, there were musicians and other people like actors and stuff that had said that they didn't know they weren't supposed to make it. That's why they made it. And then it was harder to stay in the business because they understood the business better, and they're like, "Oh my God, like it's a needle in a haystack to become relevant. Like this is hard. Like there's so much competition and it's so difficult." And it was hard because they wrapped their brain around everything. But when they were younger and they didn't know it was supposed to be difficult, they were just focused on doing what they loved. Then they made it, you know. So they're saying how their ignorance actually helped them make it because they didn't know that they weren't supposed to, you know. So it's that ignorance is bliss mentality where it's like, I think since, I'm doing this big land project where I'm purchasing a bunch of land in the Dominican, and exactly what I do with that remains to be seen. I'm probably going to be selling portions of it. I'm probably going to be setting up some Airbnb. I know I want it to be all off grid. So like there's all these possibilities, and what plays out is yet to be determined. But as I move forward, all these ideas from people who know a lot more than I do come in. And this is why I'm not trying to pigeonhole my vision so much, because it's like there's people who know much more than I do. And they're going like, oh, well, like if I come up with ideas with my limited knowledge, I'm probably going to come up with bad ideas because I have limited knowledge. So I'm waiting to finalize exactly what I'm going to do until I gather more information from people who know more than I do, and they go, oh, well, yeah, instead of that, why don't you do this? Like we've been in the off-grid community for years. Like, like people have tried that. Don't do that. It doesn't work. You should do this. It's like, oh yeah, okay. So I'm leaving room for it to grow and expand and shift and change, as time goes on. But the ignorance is bliss mentality, it can be helpful. It can be helpful to because I don't know all the problems that are going to come up. So I'm not worried about all the problems that are going to come up, which helps me just stay in the anything is possible mentality. Right. So what I've seen as the major block with people doing what they want to do is that they think too much. They think it through too much. I mean, of course we have a brain, we want to think things through, but people try to figure out how everything's going to work before they'll take the first step. So that is, or before they take the second step, or they'll stop altogether because they can't see what the next 3 steps are going to be. And that's kind of why I want to do this podcast, is to try to help people work through that part of it, because that is, to me, from what I've seen, it's the biggest block. It's just this mentality that like, well, I don't know the first thing about purchasing land and building off-grid Airbnbs in the Dominican Republic. So, so what? Does it feel right? I mean, I'm doing it because it feels right, not because it sounds cool. There's a difference. So, like I'm not just picking something out of thin air and going, "Oh, I'm just going to do this because why not? It sounds good." No, that's not what happened. I started feeling this push towards, what do I want to do next? What excites me? What do I want my future to look like? Oh, I'd like to have a big piece of land. Oh, okay, to live on. Okay, well, how could I make that come true? Well, if I buy more land, then maybe I can sell some of it and pay for some of that land. I'm going to have to generate revenue somehow. So maybe an Airbnb style. I'd like to be off grid. So I put all the pieces that resonated with me together to create this vision. And it's just and it felt right to me. That's it. It just felt like something that I thought I wanted to do, most likely, probably. So I started putting energy towards it. And that's when I really know. When I start, because I had other ideas too, but they started fading away, and this one started popping into my head more often. So that's one sign. It's like some of the other ideas were like, nah, I don't even remember what they were now, but this one kept popping back up a little bit more than the others. So I started putting energy towards it. I'll Google off-grid communities and join a couple on Facebook. Just little things. Just Google, what are the types of off-grid houses? I'd like to have multiple styles there. Oh, those are cool. Those are cool. Those are cool. And then the enthusiasm starts building. The energy starts building. And now all of a sudden the vision starts expanding. The excitement builds, and then it's like, oh, once I start feeling that expansion, and it's like, okay, now I know I'm doing something that I should be doing. Because otherwise, if it was something I shouldn't be doing, if I put some energy towards it, I'd be like, maybe. But it wouldn't excite me, it wouldn't, the enthusiasm wouldn't come up. I wouldn't, after putting energy towards it for a few days, I wouldn't want to put more energy towards it. It would be kind of like a task to put more energy towards it. But if it's something that I'm supposed to be doing, after I put energy towards it, a few days, like I was resting for for like 2 years, 3 years, letting my business kind of run on its own from what I had built, and still working with clients. But other than that, just kind of resting. And I felt that I wanted to do something next. What's my next? So as I felt that, I was still kind of stationary. So I needed to push myself a little bit more. I needed to push myself action wise, because, an object at rest tends to stay at rest. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. So I could feel that I was a little bit like I had resistance to taking action, quite honestly, because I was used to resting. I didn't want to do anything. I liked sitting on my butt a lot. So I was like, okay, this isn't healthy. I need to push myself into action a little bit, get myself into the rhythm of action. So I made a note on my phone. I said, what's it say? I still have it there. Take a step towards your dream. And I put it in red, and I put a notification on it. See, right down there at the bottom. And I put it in all caps. So those of you watching it on video can see it's on my phone. So I saw that every day, and I made sure before I went to bed, I took at least one small action. It could be Googling something that took me 30 seconds. But if I was laying in bed, ready to go to sleep, and I hadn't done anything yet that day, I'd grab my phone and do something. And then maybe copy the website address that I found for, who knows, rammed earth houses. Okay, I'll Google rammed earth houses. So I Google it. I look through a few of the websites that pop up, and then I copy the website and I paste it in a notification for the next day to look into it. Probably took me 30 seconds, and then I go to bed. But what that is it's putting consistent energy towards something. And once I did something, and a lot of times it was 30 seconds, 5 minutes, whatever per day, after about a week or two, I could feel it. I was like, oh my God, this is growing. This is expanding. This is something I'm supposed to do. So then, and my enthusiasm was up. And then all of a sudden, it wasn't a task. I didn't have to talk myself into taking action. I wanted to take the action. It became enjoyable. It was feeding something that I was enthusiastic about, you know? So I wasn't going to let the fact that I had some resistance to taking some action stop me from doing something in my life. So I pushed myself a little bit to get through that and to expand the energy around this topic. And then, but yeah, I didn't know what I was doing. And I had a bunch of phone calls with a bunch of people, and most of them were really nice and a few weren't. But most people were very helpful. And I told most of them, hey, I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, that's how I would start conversations. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm just trying to gather some information. I'm just trying to find out some more information about this topic. I'm creating a vision for this big project that I want to do, but I'm not looking to be the expert in all the areas. I don't want to be the off-grid solar power expert. I don't want to be the rammed earth house expert. I don't want to be the dome aircrete Adobe builders specialist. That's not what I'm looking to do. A lot of people in the off-grid community are DIY. It's all do-it-yourself stuff, and I think that's wonderful, but that's not what I'm looking to do at this stage of my life. What I want to do is hold a vision and put a team together of a bunch of people that know a heck of a lot more than I do and get this project created. That's what I want to do. So I explain that to people. And once, the people with open minds were like, cool, I can help you with that. Others were like, well, that sounds crazy, or I don't think it's a good idea. It's like, okay, thank you. Thanks for your time. See you later. And just keep going. And, and in the conversations now, then I started learning more. But the point is when I reached out to these people, I didn't have a list of questions. I didn't know what we're going to talk about. I let the conversation go wherever it was going to go. I just did it anyway. I didn't know what I was doing, but I did it anyway. And this is, that's what I want you guys to get. People put we think we have to have all this knowledge or confidence in doing something before we do it. We can't. That's a misconception. Like, if you talk to a lot of people, which I have, and I've heard this countless times. I mean, countless, from all ages, children all the way up to adults. I've heard when they're talking about something, people go, "Oh, yeah, but that'd be too hard." That'd be hard. So you're not supposed to do anything that's hard. You've you've never done anything worthwhile in your life that was hard. Like, who cares if it's hard? Do you want to do it? Well, no, I don't want to do anything hard. Well, you're not going to accomplish much in your life then, because there's going to be times where things that you want to accomplish are going to be difficult to accomplish, and you have to do it anyway. So it being hard is not a good reason not to do anything. It was when we my son and I moved down to Florida, and he was going to do his senior year there. It was, somebody said, well, just picking up and going to a new school for his senior year, going from small town in Rhode Island with small schools his whole life to this big city in Florida having 10 times the amount of kids in the school, that's going to be hard. I said, yeah. So, well, then why are you doing it? Well, it's because something's hard has never been a reason not to do something, I talked to my son about this. He chose to do it. It was his choice. I'm not making him do it. He chose to do it. He wants to do it. So I'm not going to look at him and say, well, I know that you want to do this, but it's probably going to be hard. So don't. I'm not going to let you because it's going to be hard. No. I mean, why? You want to do it, then do it. It's hard. Okay. Then I'll help you. When it gets difficult, come talk to me and we'll work through it together. So things being hard is not a reason not to do them. And even more than things being hard, people say, well, I have no idea how I would accomplish that. So but nobody had an idea how they were going to accomplish anything until they did it. Like everything began with an idea. Everything began in our imagination. And then we figured out how to do it. Everything was like that, And not only everything the first time, but the first time for everybody. So like the first time somebody wrote a book, there was no such thing as a book. They needed to figure out, like, okay, I'll put a written word in a bunch of things, and I guess I'll just put it together. I don't know. They didn't know what they were doing, but they figured it out. And what's funny is every person that's written their first book from that point on, they didn't know what they were doing either. Even if they went to school and learned how to write a book, you still don't know what you're doing until you actually do it. It's all theory in your brain. You have ideas, but until you actually do it, you don't do it. But I wrote a book. I didn't go to school to learn how to write a book. Like, we don't need to know how to do things. We just have to start doing them. That's it. Just start doing it. Do it anyway. I don't know. Okay, we'll do it anyway, even though you don't know. See, what it is we think we're supposed to know how to do something, which that's the biggest misconception. We aren't supposed to know how to do things before we do them. Like, just because, I don't know how to buy land and do a big land project, so I better not do it. Okay, so what do I do? I'm 55, so what do I do? I never do anything new. Like, I never learn anything. I just, like, what, did my brain shut off when I was like 22 and then I can't learn anything after that? Or I don't, like, I don't understand the thought process behind it, because that's how I function. I look at the thought processes behind things. Like, I look at, does this way of thinking make sense? Is it logical? And I follow it through. And most things don't. Most things that people just walk around saying in society don't make any sense. But a bunch of people agreed that they were normal. So now everybody walks around saying them, and they never stop and look underneath it and just ask themselves, is this true? Does this make sense? So you say, oh, well, I can't write a book. I don't know how. Okay, is that true? Can you not write a book because you don't know how? Well, no. Like, nobody knew how to write a book until they learned how. So why don't you learn how? Oh, wow. Okay. So I just take words like, well, I don't even know what chapters I would have. Oh, well, just how about this topic is something I want to write about. Okay, I'll write a few sentences about that. And then all of a sudden it turns into a few paragraphs or a few pages. Oh, wow. My goodness. That might be a chapter. Yeah, maybe. Like, You can do stuff like that. Or you can go online and you can figure out, like, how do I write a book? And they'll give you structured ways of doing it. Like I did it, I just figured it out as I went. Other people, you know, research and go and they go, oh, well, first come up with a table of contents. Oh, okay, cool. And I looked at some of that stuff too. And it's just, I did Google some of that stuff. It's just most of it, I just said, nah, I don't feel like doing that. I'll do it my way. But some of it I took into consideration when I was doing things, but you find a way. Just do it anyway. Find a way as you go. It all unfolds. So this idea that we're supposed to know not only how to do something, but most people don't want to take a risk unless they can see themselves winning at the end, which you can't do. That's like impossible. And but people will not slow down and understand that that's impossible. And they'll use that as a reason why they don't do something. So it'll be like, well, why don't you look for a new job? Well, I mean, what would I do? Like, I mean, this one's close to home, and I mean, I don't even know if I could afford the gas or something if I got one that was further away. Or what if I didn't? What if I don't like the boss? Or what like, how do I even know that they pay more elsewhere if I'm looking for more money? I mean, really, how? And they just use that. It's like those are all questions that will be answered as you look into it. Like, oh, why? I can't see that. I can't figure out how that's gonna. I can't picture myself. See, this is what it is. A lot of people can't picture themselves living a happier, more satisfying existence in the future. They just can't picture that, so they don't work towards it. Just like, well, I'm not struggling right now. I can eat, and I'm not suicidal, so I think I'm just going to stay where I am. It's like that's such a low bar for your life. You know, there's no joy, there's no enthusiasm. And it's so easy to get it. Just start a hobby. Like, just do whatever you want as a hobby. I want to learn to play the drums. Oh, okay. Well, Google how do I play the drums and start tapping on your coffee table. That's fine. That's good enough if it brings you joy. Just do it anyway. Don't worry about not knowing what you're doing. Don't you don't have to know what you're doing. Just take that first step. Don't be afraid of looking like a moron. Like when I call up somebody and get in a conversation with somebody about off-grid living, I know that they are way smarter in this area than I am. They're supposed to be. That's why I'm talking to them. So I'm gathering information. I'm not supposed to know. Well, I don't want to look like an idiot. Well, it's not looking like an idiot. It's looking like somebody that is just getting started in this area. That's what it's looking like. Like if somebody calls me up and says, "Hey, I want to be a life coach, but I don't know the first thing." Oh, okay. Well, I don't think, "Oh my God, this person's such an idiot. They don't even know the first thing about life coaching." How would they? They, they haven't done anything yet. So they're looking for information, right? Everything's like that. People don't usually think we're morons because we don't know something about what they know. Usually people are helpful and they're like, "Oh, you don't know anything?" Oh, well, I do. People like sharing information, especially with about stuff that they care about and that they've spent a lot of time learning about. They like sharing that information with other people usually. And if they don't, you just go to somebody else that does. Next thing you know, you learn a little piece here, you learn a little piece there. Now all of a sudden you're becoming the expert, you know? So like I said, it's just do it anyway. Don't worry about what you don't know. Just if you have this inner urge that you want to try something or you want to do something in your life, then just start doing it. Start Google something. Um, you know, Google the name of a company that does it. Email them and say, "Hey, I'd like to. I'm thinking about maybe doing a project. Could we have a phone call sometime?" That's what I did. I talked to a bunch of people that knew all kinds of stuff. It's like, wow, and what was so cool, like with the off-grid community, which every community is like this to some degree, but I think the off-grid community is really like this. They're very creative because people have been doing this for a long time. So they found better ways of doing things. So they can give you really good ideas, and you can say something and they're like, "Oh, yeah, no, Mm, that's pro now, what if you took your idea and you did it this way? And you go, "Oh, wow, yeah, so I still get what I wanted out of the idea, but actually makes much more sense because it's more feasible." And they're like, "Right, right." So they can guide you and help you create your vision. See, this is another aspect of what I'm talking about. You don't have to have a lock solid crystal vision of what you're going to accomplish before you start working towards it, because a lot of it's going to change anyway. You have to be adaptable and adjust your vision to what's realistic and makes sense. So whatever it is you're thinking about doing, whether it's, you know, changing jobs or starting a side hustle or getting into a hobby or buying some land somewhere, this is like so I'm going to touch on this too. It's like what I'm talking about costs way more money. My personal project costs way more money than I have. It it does. So a lot of people, the reason they don't accomplish something, they're like, "Well, I don't have the money for that. I can't just go do something." It's like most of the businesses and things in the world over the last 200, 300 years have been funded one way, shape, or form. When I started my first business, I ran a crowdfunding campaign, and I raised like $1,500, mostly from friends and family, that allowed me to buy some equipment so I could do some personal training in my little studio, and a TV so I could view spiritual movies and have conversations, and chairs so I could have events. Like, I didn't have any money for that either. I was collecting food stamps when I started that business. So like I ran it, so I found a way, and I, got $1,500, and I got a TV that was on that somebody got for me on Black Friday at Walmart that was like so cheap, and it worked. It served the purpose. So that's the other thing that people, well, I don't have the money to do that. I can't just pick up and do that. Okay, well, find a way. Things are funded. Find, like if you have a good idea and you're passionate and you start putting energy towards and you start creating, all of a sudden ways start coming. See, that's the point, is when we're standing at step one, we don't know who we're going to be or the connections we're going to have made or the possibilities that are going to be in front of us at step 10, because we're not there yet. So just trust that that stuff will unfold. You can't not even try because you don't know what you're going to do at step 10. You're going to be a different person. I've talked about this before in other podcasts. You're literally going to be a different person. Physically, all your cells regenerate and stuff. So you're not even the same person. But more important, intellectually, mentally, emotionally, capability wise, knowledge wise, you're a different person after you've taken 10 steps. You've made more contacts than you were before you took that step. I had people like, I had an idea for where I might be able to get investment, and still do, but it's not secured. But as I was looking in other avenues, there were people coming up going like, hey, we could probably find investors for you. Like, oh, really? Wow. Look at that. I wasn't even asking for it. And people were presenting stuff because the project is something that certain people like. So this is what I mean. Things start being presented to you and coming out of the woodwork when you're open to it, when you just start moving in a direction of. You never know. Whatever, if it's something that you want and you're feeding it and the enthusiasm is growing and the energy is growing, it's just stuff starts coming and working itself out, and ideas start coming and the right people come into your life to help you through certain situations. So don't let even money stop you. That's one that people think, oh, well, money is like, you need money, and it's a tangible, touchable thing. So like this, a good attitude isn't going to do that. Well, no, not a good attitude alone, but action will. Creating a vision. You think most people that built buildings and cities and started huge businesses and corporations, you think they all had like $100 million in their back pocket that they just kind of started paying for everything? No, it was funded. It was funded. And if you can't get funding from a bank, you can get funding elsewhere. You can do crowdfunding. You can start a side hustle. You can look for investors that are interested in this type of opportunity. You can look for grants or funding from the government for certain projects. There's all kinds of ways, but my point is to start. If there's something that you want to do, just lean into it and start doing it. Allow your ignorance to be bliss. Just don't get caught up in all the problems. Just keep doing it anyway, doing it anyway, doing it anyway. And then next thing you know, all this stuff will fall into place. And adjust your vision as you go. You might need to lean in this direction a little bit more, or that direction a little bit more. But just go out there and do it anyway, man. This is, if like somebody posted, I'll wrap up with this. Somebody posted something recently about like, what did you learn from COVID? And, one of the things that I learned from COVID excuse me. Hey, sorry about that. That swig of water was a bad idea. So what I learned from COVID was really to ride the wave. Don't look at things. Don't look at things external like they have control over you. Like everybody was looking at COVID and was like shutting down their lives. They weren't pursuing their dreams. They weren't looking to start new things or, how they could use COVID to change their lives. They were just trying to maintain and get through a difficult time. And what I learned, I think I already knew this, but what I learned even more was that, just go for what you want, no matter what's going on around you. So when COVID was coming, I was like, what does this mean for me? I could feel it was something big was happening. COVID was going to be a big deal energetically. I didn't know what it was going to do to me, but I wasn't waiting around to find out. I wasn't waiting to see what the government or uh, COVID was how it was going to impact my life. Like I'm a victim and I'm just waiting to see what the external will do to me. I had never thought like that. It was just like it's big and everything is energy, so it's a big wave of energy. So if I resist what's going on or just stand there, I'm probably going to get wiped out by this big wave of energy and taken for a ride, or I can catch the wave and use the energy to propel me forward. So I started meditating, and what I kept getting was international travel, like, and community. So I was like, okay, so I guess I don't know how I can just make community, but I can travel. Maybe I'll find community when I travel. So I started looking into international travel. So I thought it was going to be Panama because I knew somebody there. It didn't work out. So it ended up being Dominican Republic because I didn't just give up when Panama wasn't working out. I was getting the feeling that I should travel internationally. So I kept pushing until I found a way to travel internationally. And I traveled back and forth from the Dominican Republic and moved over here in the middle of COVID, where people like, everybody was going like, oh, you can't travel, you can't do anything, you can't. I'm like, what do you mean? Why can't you travel? Well, because of COVID. Like, I traveled. I got a plane ticket and came over, and I never got vaccinated. I wore a mask in the airports because they told me I had to for a little while. Okay. It didn't stop me from living my life. It didn't stop me from doing anything. In fact, it propelled me forward. So this is what I learned through COVID. Just if there's something that you want to do, go do it. Don't let external circumstances stop you. Like I said, I think I already knew that anyway, but it's like, most people that I know, their whole life got shut down and they went through a very extremely difficult time through COVID, and mine was the opposite. And a lot of people, I mean, those are people, I'm talking the majority of people that I'm aware of. Now, most people in my small circle, like my clients and other people that I associate with on a regular basis, their lives expanded too. They experienced a bunch of things that they wanted to do because of their different mentality. Most people I know that were my clients in a small circle, their life actually got better during COVID. They changed jobs, got out of a job they didn't like, all kinds of good stuff happened. But it's what we make of it. It's not what's going on around us. If we're waiting, like, oh, there's a recession, I can't start a business. That's the best time to start a business in a lot of situations. Your costs are lower, depending on what business you start, of course. But millionaires are made in recessions. Like, don't let things stop you. Or if you have a particular business that really it is foolish to start during a recession, then don't start it then. But you can build up the framework of it. You can build up your website. You can research, you can create training videos, you can do all kinds of stuff at your house and have everything all set because everything changes. So if you spend 2 years preparing your business and then the economy comes out of a recession and you launch then, perfect. But don't just sit there. That you can, no matter where you are, you can do something towards your goal. Googling something, or that's what it is. That's what I mean by do it anyway. No matter where you are, no matter what your circumstances are, no matter what's going on, there is something that you can do to put energy towards whatever you want to achieve. Something. So do that. And that's what builds up the energy of it, and it helps bring it in. So just start putting energy towards stuff. Do it anyway. Put energy towards it. Walk in the direction of, and then all of a sudden steps will start to be put in front of you. So that's it. That's it for today. So, all right, everybody, thanks for listening. And let me know if I can be of service, and I will talk with you soon. Peace.